Kiz, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing well. How you guys doing? I see you got some snow up in St. Louis, so you guys are probably shivering.
Well, that's where I was going to start, actually, because are you in Jupiter area?
Jupiter, Florida.
See,
Yes,
so
sir.
I'm looking right now, it's 35 degrees with drizzle. We have a nice little coat of packing snow, so you could probably have a nice little snowball fight. So what's the weather like around your parts?
Jupiter, it's beautiful today. Couple clouds in the sky, sun's out, probably about 75, 80 degrees, slight breeze. It's beautiful. Can't beat it.
So what is your schedule like now? I'm assuming you take some time, then you try to get back into it a little bit. But you're a guy who's always working out and stuff. So what is a day like in this particular segment of the off season? What's it like for you?
So I'm back in the swing of working out. I lift pretty much 6 days a week. I got 4 heavy lifts and then 2, they're called movement days. So it's kind of doing some extra stretching, correctives, med balls, and some running stuff. So what I usually do is, like this particular week, I got 4 lifts, 2 movement days. I bumped my catching up, now catching 4 times a week for about an hour or so. Nothing crazy, just working some receiving techniques. And then I started playing catch this week, so I'm doing 3 days of throwing. So it's a little bit of everything. I try to get everything knocked out in the morning, and then starting the week after Thanksgiving, I'll start hitting again, and then bullpens start up sometime middle of December, and then live at bats middle of January, and next thing you know, we're starting the season back up, spring training middle of February.
You know, one of the big things that catchers are rated on, something that I think was just basically an idea 5 years ago, but pitch framing. Now there's all kinds of analytic data about that. So how does one try to improve with pitch framing? Because really, the movements are subtle. It's really a technique that there's really such a fine line to do it properly. So how does one get better at that?
Yeah, you're exactly right. There's such small, fine detail in receiving, and when the ball's coming at you 100 miles an hour, any extra or wasted movement really gets amplified. So what I'm trying to do and focus on this offseason to take into the season next year is timing, okay? And what I mean by timing, just like hitting, just like everything, timing's so important of when I show the target to the pitcher and I relax my glove, the timing aspect is moving through the pitch, as you're catching it, moving through the pitch, not too early and getting too fully extended to catch the ball, and not letting the ball get too deep where you're, quote unquote, beat by the pitch. So it's finding that sweet spot of moving your glove out to catch the ball right in that sweet spot of that timing. And that's kind of what I'm working. And what that does is it helps be able to control the ball. You square the ball up in your pocket, so you're making a clean catch every single time, and you're able to move that ball subtly and just enough to fool the umpire. So that's kind of my main thought process and what I'm really focusing on this offseason.
No, it's such a, like we said, it's a fine line, but through the course of a game, it really impacts, right, what's going on behind the plate. And you see catchers that try to fool the umpire by jerking the ball over. And to me, when you see that, that's like giving away the pitch. So you got to figure out a way around that.
Absolutely. And you see guys that have a lot of movement. I think the way the game's going, umpires are starting to realize when they see a lot of movement, the pitch is probably a ball. So, a couple of years ago, I went through the phase of everybody trying to move the ball so much. I think it's now going backwards where a little bit less movement is better. And that's kind of what I'm focused on is efficient movement. Like, I don't want to take a pitch that's in the dirt and frame it above my head. That's just unnecessary. So I want to be able to take those pitches that are in the shadow zone around the plate and just bring them back to the corner, bring them back, just to the bottom or just to the top or just to the sides of the plate, because too much movement is now noticed by the umpire. So it has to be subtle, has to be quick, and it has to be timed up perfectly.
We're talking with Cardinals catcher Andrew Knizner. Kiz, you have a very unique opportunity, and the Cardinals do for the first time in about 20 years, with Yachty not coming back next year, and you have the starting catching position open. So how much are you kind of focused on your opportunity, but also the hot stove talk with some rumors about the Cardinals potentially interested in other catchers as well? How do you, and obviously Herrera and yourself, so just how do you look at that situation and your opportunity for 2023?
Yeah, I mean, certainly, it's something different in St. Louis, not having Yachty back, the first time, like you said, in seems like forever, but 20-some years, which is a long time in a career sense. But, my preparation and my approach to each season is very consistent. I put in, I assess the season. I figure out what I need to work on and what I need to improve on. And I do that in the off season. So when it comes time for spring training in the season, I'm a better player. And my thought process is if I can continue to become a better player, I can look back at the end of my career, hopefully a long career, and say, that was successful. I had success because I worried about myself. I worried about improving each day as a player, and I gave it my all. And that's really my focus is continue to get better. And if I do that, I should be in a good spot.
So, and I know you, so I believe you when you say stuff like this. My guess would be that you block out the stuff that's on the internet, who the Cardinals might be interested, where that might leave you. You don't focus on that. You don't get caught up in that. Yeah.
I mean, do I hear it? Do I read stuff about it? Absolutely. I mean, it's there. It's it's so accessible now with the way media is. So to say that I don't pay attention to it at all, I'm probably lying to you. But what can I really do? What can I do? I can focus on myself and becoming a better player, like I said. That's all I can control, and that's what I try to focus on. So at the end of the day, the goal is to win baseball games, and if I can become a better player, no matter what my role is, if I'm a starter, backup, whatever down the line, the goal is to win baseball games, to win a championship, and that's how I train in the offseason.
Now, there's some rule changes coming for baseball. But one of the things that's coming back is PitchCom, and we've talked to you about it before, but now we've seen in postseason games, PitchCom not working, a delay. Obviously, the crowds maybe tick up in terms of noise in the postseason. I'm sure the technology will advance with PitchCom. Are you still 100% on board with PitchCom? Because it seems to me there's just some old school guys who aren't really totally comfortable with it. And then when something goes wrong with PitchCom, like pitchers are so locked in anyway, one little thing can get them off track. And when your PitchCom isn't working, to me, that's not a little ripple. That could really throw a guy off. Where are you with PitchCom right now? And do you see the things that I've mentioned as big problems that baseball has to deal with?
Yeah, I'm 100% in on PitchCom. I love it. I think it's great. I think it's easy to use. I think that, or I predict that they're going to make enhancements to the system, the software, to make it even better. I'm sure they're going to do something like that as these seasons go along. And when it comes to the pitcher getting thrown off, anything can throw those guys off, whether it's PitchCom, not being able to see the signs, the manual signs, I guess my own fingers, he might not be able to see, so then he's not quite sure on what pitch to throw. And something that, obviously is coming is the pitch clock. And with PitchCom, it should speed up the process of, getting the pitch to the pitcher, accepting the pitch and being ready to throw in a shortened window. Because we no longer are able to just shake, step off, get back on. The game's going to be faster paced. And with PitchCom, I believe we can move faster and more efficiently. So I think it's great, and I think as long as they keep making improvements to the software and the system, we should be in good shape.
So we've done some research in terms of data for this show. We only have like 12 listeners, and none are major league umpires. So it's a safe space for you to answer.
Ron Kolpa, maybe?
Nope, he fell off. He's listening to 101 now. So how much during a game, this came off our text line from Kyle, so I thought it was legit to ask. So how much do you try to work an umpire during a game, and is there any value in trying to get that done?
I think there's certainly value in working with an umpire, but at the end of the day, everybody's trying to do their job. What I mean by that is I'm trying to fool the umpire. The umpire is trying to call the right pitches because he's getting graded just like how I get graded, just how the pitcher gets graded, just how the hitter gets graded. So performance is obviously at the top of the list. Everybody wants to do their job and perform as best they can. I do think, because they are humans, that if you can work an umpire, I think you can get a few calls a game. I really do think that. And I think who you are as a person, as a player, you can get calls. How much do I work an umpire? I try to just be myself. I think I'm a pretty good guy, fun to hang out with, so I don't try to go above and beyond and like put on this fake, here's my umpire spiel and I'm giving them a talk or whatever. I just am myself back there, I communicate as best I can and, just try to have a good game with those guys and be respectful, and that usually works for me.
So, Kiz, you mentioned the pitch clock, and I'm interested in your opinion on this. So I'm looking up this article here. For the 2022 season, the average game was 3 hours, 3 minutes, 44 seconds. So the record was the year before, 2021, at 3 hours and 10 minutes. If you go back to 2005, the average length of game was 2 hours, 46 minutes. If you go way back to 1981, it was 2 hours and 33 minutes. And I'm just guessing as a catcher, you're going to have to catch 9 innings anyway. But if it can carve off, let's say, 12 to 13 minutes of you squatting while nobody's doing anything, I'm thinking that saves the knees and the legs a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Faster games, guys aren't standing in the field as long. Over the course of 162 games, that's a bunch of hours of rest, essentially, because you're not out there playing, you're not out there standing. I don't know if pitch clock. I'm hoping it does what MLB wants it to do, of making games a little bit faster paced, a little bit quicker, a little bit more efficient. But I hope that it doesn't change the integrity of the game and the thought process behind each pitch, and I hope that the game doesn't get to a point where we're just speeding through it to end it, and we're still able to play the game how it should be played. So obviously we'll see how that plays out this year. And I'm sure MLB will make adjustments accordingly.
Now, Kiz, you and I have gotten along ever since you came up. And I've always tried to empathize with the dangers of being behind the plate and the physical risks. So I texted you a picture of the results of me catching my son, who for the record is 13, and I wasn't ready for a fastball, and you see the results. But the fact that I put myself in that position, do you think that will help our relationship going forward? Because I kind of know what you go through.
Yep. You now know what I go through on a daily basis. And when I get back to St. Louis this season, I'll make sure I give you an extra mask so you don't get another black eye.
I could use it.
Don't you think? If you got the glove on, don't you got to be ready for the ball? I feel like Jim's blaming his son, and I'm thinking, if you got the glove on, you better be looking. You better be alert, right?
That's right. You need to be alert, but maybe his son's throwing that heat. He's throwing that Ryan Helsley heat, and Jim wasn't ready for it. So maybe, what we ought to do is start getting a scout to look at your son. Maybe we could use him on the pitching staff.
No, we're trying to harness that energy and get that fastball up to like 53 miles an hour.
There you go.
I'm glad you're having a nice warm day while we suffer through snow and misery here. Always appreciate you coming on, my friend.
All right. Have a good day, you guys. Stay warm.
See you.
You too. Thank you,
Kiz.
sir. That's Cardinals catcher Andrew Knizner joining us here on Hot Take Central.